Hello, everybody. How is it going? I'm going to see if I can tag a few people here. We're live, and today we're going to be talking about how to schedule for the next year. So let me go ahead and tag a couple of people who I know were registered. Let me know where you're coming from, and if this is your first time tuning in, any other information as far as like what you want to do for next year, that would be pretty helpful. And I'm going to show you some really awesome tips. So get a piece of paper and something to write with so you can take some notes as well, because this is going to be pretty interactive too. So I want to make sure that you participate. So drop a comment. Let me know if you can hear me as well. All right, so I'm going to cancel that. All right, so hi Ariel, how are you doing? Where are you coming from today? I have with me one of my journals and my 2020 calendar. Okay, so hey Kim. All right, take some notes because we're gonna go through this. That's my dog, that's Captain America. And if you know me, I have like graph paper and notebooks all the time. So hi Bernita, welcome, welcome. I'm not sure if Bernita, if you've done this lesson with me before, but this is something that I do every year, which is kind of envision and plan out my whole year. So while y'all are getting set up, let me let my dog out because she's right here. Okay, so come on, Captain. Okay, excellent. All right, it is a nice day. Hey, Kim. And here's the deal. If you can efficiently map out your year, then you'll definitely know that you're accomplishing something that you keep saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be that, whatever it is. So type in, what's the biggest thing you want to do? Now, if you don't really know and you're still trying to figure that out, maybe a lot of it would be building towards, you can just put like structuring and building, that's okay. Okay, so it doesn't have to be super specific, but what I want you to do is kind of get a better grasp of what a whole entire year actually looks like and what someone like me does to make sure that I'm hitting all the right marks for the year. So a couple of things you can do. You can get a graph, you can get graph paper to chart some stuff out. We're gonna get really nerdy today. Yay. And look, what is this? A baggie of things I've cut. Yay. So you can get crafty too. It's pretty fun. Now, what's really fascinating is if you take a single sheet of paper, like regular copy paper, printer paper, fold it in half, fold it in half. Keep folding it, folding it, folding it, folding it, folding it, until you get a size about this big, okay? Nice shape. And what happens is if you count it out, after you've cut them out on the creases, so you crease, 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 fold, 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 cut them, you're gonna end up with a pile of 52 and 12. Isn't that fascinating? So the math works out great. You're gonna have a stack of 52 of those squares and a stack of 12. And what's going to happen is the 52 represents what? Bonus if you can type it in. What you got? What you got? I'm going to tell you what the month represents. Well, the 12 represents the months, right? So you have 12 months. And then the 52 is 52 weeks, okay? Now, there's a certain calendar that I love and I use it year after year. I have probably used it for maybe 15 years. That sounds about right. So this is, I get this from Barnes & Noble every year, right around October. What I like about it is that it has all the time slots, okay? So if you're kind of like me and there's a lot of things you're juggling and doing, I want to map it out. Doesn't mean that I'm like to the T every single thing I write down and make sure I have to do, but what I'm looking at is how spread out are some of these tasks that I'm doing and what do I need to make sure that I'm concentrating on for that week at a glance, but also in that time frame during the day, do I have appointments? Do I have buffer so that in case that appointment runs later or earlier, I need to make sure that I've made that buffer. So I said to you, put out a stack of 52 and 12. Well, why not just write it down? Why do I need to cut out all these pieces of paper, Marilyn? And if you're watching this later, watch the replay and see what I'm talking about here. Well, visually, you have to see like that you're creating a tipping point in your life, okay? So what's nice about this calendar, back to this calendar, is starting on December 30th, it lays this out. It says week 1, okay? So what's great about this is that there are weeks already laid out. So if I flip to April, April 6th, that's going to be week 15. And if there's 52 weeks in a year, then I know that I can compartmentalize that in my head. And wish I could share my screen, not with Facebook, but anyway, I want to see like what the representation is of that, how it lays out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the weeks that are major holidays. So you're going to say, okay, let me take one from that 52 pile, put it here, that represents Easter. That represents my birthday week, because I don't want to do too much that week. Okay, and then that represents like Thanksgiving and Christmas, anything else that you celebrate that's going to take pretty much a lot of your concentration that week. So if you already know when your vacation is, take it out. You don't know when it is, that's fine. Take those out, take that out of the pile. Okay, so let's say you took 10 things out, you're left with 42 on that stack. Now, you have 42 on that stack. If you just divide it in half, then you're kind of evenly doing something in your life, that's fine. But what I want you to do is make one stack higher than the other. So if you have 42, maybe one stack is 22 weeks, and the other stack is 20 weeks. Now, on that 22 weeks, what are you going to claim? 1 year, I claim that I'm just going to be working on launching online courses and like teaching more. So I made sure that the concentration for that stack, for those weeks that I'm going to put inside the calendar for the next year, is concentrating on that element. So I'm going to make sure that I start planting it where it's supposed to be. So what's also, you could also do this with Post-it notes if you'd rather count out Post-it notes and not, cut things out, that's fine. That's totally fine. But what you want to do is say, okay, week 28, you're mine for more online course stuff, okay? And then the other things I need to do, maybe you take 1 week and you say, that's spring cleaning, or that's an organizational week, and that's, I'm going to gift myself, let me see, first day of school week for the kids, I'm going to take that out of that pile. Not the pile of 22, mind you. I'm going to take that out of the pile of the 20. So that I should see that one keep dwindling down because of other commitments that I'm making in my life. And so what I'm left with is 22 weeks solid to work on something so that I can gain momentum into that, so that I'm not going, where's the time going? What am I going to do this week, next week? From what I find throughout all these years of being an entrepreneur and then helping other entrepreneurs is that you got to claim your space. And if, let's say you're not going into more entrepreneurship, you're just trying to figure out your finances and things like that. Well, maybe on some of those ways, on the weeks that you're looking at for the higher pile, the 22 weeks, you're going to say, what kind of income generating activity am I going to do that with that week? Okay, so you can say, all right, I'm going to study stuff from the Female Income Academy on those weeks. So you can write down FIA and all that whole stack. And then what you're going to do is work around the other pile first. So you're actually going to have that existing, but you're not prioritizing it first when you put it in next year's calendar. You prioritize your vacations first. You prioritize those elements first, and then the other pile from the 20, like the first week of school for the kids, you just want to veg out that week, you just want to go like, I'm just going to sleep in all week, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. You get 20 whole weeks to do something crazy, all right? So there you go. So you're going to put that in here and map it out. And so what you have left is the stack of 22. Put that where it fits. Does that make sense? Because half of the time you're kind of like, I'm working too hard. I'm like, doing all this. I'm busy, but why am I not getting anywhere? How come year after year my year looks the same and nothing really moved for me? Well, most of the time we have to create a tipping point in our lives. And how I like this system is that, I can really assess, like, am I being ridiculous when I'm saying I'm going to spend 2 weeks resting? But when I look at it and look at how high that pile of 22 is, it's not ridiculous. I'm going to say, this is my life. I'm not planning a calendar to make it look, really pretty and highlighted and look at all the stacks of things and check marks that I've done. Who cares? This is your life. This is your essence that you're trying to like put into play. Okay, so I want you to like claim it. And then what you're going to do is, if you have a calendar like this one, on those weeks, you're going to put it right up on top. Okay, you're going to write that whatever you're claiming for that week. Does that mean that every single moment of that week is fully dedicated to that? No. It just means that I'm going to put some concentration on it. And so that week I should carve out some really good chunks of time, like block scheduling that so that it appears there. I'm going to keep in mind, like, okay, what if I'm running a business in that stack of 22 or however you divvied up yours, what really needs to happen in my business so that I can already plan ahead for marketing myself, marketing my business and other things like that. So let me know if you have any questions, because I know I'm just kind of like, oh, like shoving all of this to you, but have you ever done this before? Have you done your whole year? Have you scheduled it out? And then someone was shocked the other day because I was writing everything in pen. You know, people like, wait, shouldn't you want to write it in pencil in case you want to erase it and then it'll still look pretty? I'm like, I don't care about my calendar looking pretty. I want to see where my mindset was when I first pre-planned the calendar. If I need to change anything, I'll cross it out. I'll write over it. Let me find my current calendar to show you that, okay? My calendar looks messy, and I want it to look messy because I want to show myself that not everything was perfect. I didn't have to erase anything. I'm not going to erase anything. I want to know, like, okay, if that was meant to be scheduled and that got rescheduled, what happened? You know, I want to see, like, okay, I did all that stuff, check mark, check mark, check mark. And then if something got switched, look, there's an arrow there. I had to switch that there. So this is what Marilyn's calendar looks like week after week, because there's stuff being written down. And I'm not losing track of anything. What I find with electronic calendars, right? You might not have your phone on you, and it's kind of like a hassle sometimes trying to get into certain files. But another thing is when you want to move something, you're just clicking a few buttons. Sorry, my hair is crazy. You're clicking a few buttons, and then it's wiped out from history altogether. So you don't even know, like, what did you schedule before that had to shift? And especially me when I'm working with different clients, I want to know how many times did I have to reschedule that particular client. So then I can have a conversation and be like, look, we've had to cross that out and move it here, and cross that out, move that there. When you schedule with me, can you make sure that you're using your calendar so that we don't have to keep doing that? Because as you can see, right, it's more tangible to them. As you can see, I try to fit you in where I can fit you in. So my time is going to be valuable. So look, like this one said, vacation at Massanutten, all across the whole thing. So it's like I'm claiming that week. No one's going to jump in there. Had a few calls to do, but not a lot. I put karaoke here on Tuesday because I had to get karaoke in, okay? So put that in there. Another thing I like about these types of calendars, I can write in the margins. I can write some certain phone numbers. I'm not having to dig those out. When I'm on a phone call, I can kind of quickly flip instead of saying, hold on, let me lose momentum with you while I put my phone away from my face and find my calendar and then talk to you. So it's almost like I'm trying to keep my conversation flowing. That way it's easier. And then, so because people always ask me, okay, Marilyn, you have 5 kids, you run your businesses, and then you have like assignments, you have meetings that you go to, you lead a women's network, all these things. You can do a lot of stuff if you're organized. And what I also find is when I'm communicating with, let's say, my husband, my family members, anybody else, and I show them the calendar, I'm not kidding when I say, hey, this is when I have time. And then it's almost like people respect it more, that they can see it themselves. So they kind of already at a glance experience my life. And, I find that people resonate with that a whole lot better. And then me and myself, I resonate with it too, because when I'm seeing, just kind of how things go, it's like, oh yeah, I can remember it better. And there's something to be said by writing things down instead of typing it. If you look that up, there's tons of blogs and studies about it, how it builds more in your memory. You're least likely to forget, and you're thinking, oh, well, my phone will remind me. But sometimes you might schedule something on the wrong date and you didn't get the reminder. Here, I'm like, I can see, like, if I had a really busy day, I just want to take it lightly the next day. So it says booked CarMax. So I did a commercial. And so I did a CarMax commercial. I had to drive all the way to Maryland. And so that got booked. I put that in here, crossed everything out. Then the next day I'm like, you know what, that's probably going to tire me out. Even though, yeah, it sounds fun and glamorous being on a commercial, that's a lot of work sometimes, because you're like, you know, going from makeup to wardrobe to here, then there, and shoot and whatever. By the end of the day, you're like, whew, that was a lot of work. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and block out the next day so I can also catch up from the things that I missed out while I was filming that commercial, and so that I can kind of get balance back in my life. Because if I don't, then it's like, then I'm just bombarded with all these things like, oh, you didn't get to do this that day, things like that. I actually keep it pretty clean. And then you're probably asking, well, then do you have a to-do list somewhere else? Sometimes. But I mean, I already know like big things that I need to accomplish. I'm going to block it out and put it in here. If I just have like open ended time, well, what happens is my brain has been so like, what do you call it, practiced, and the muscle is here to do this like this with my brain first, writing it down. It's a muscle that I've connected from the way I think to the way I do. So what happens is if I have free time, I don't really waste it because I don't really need to write it down and things like that. My brain is already going, boom, we can take care of that. Boom, we can take care of this. Boom. And then it's like, I get to celebrate. Let's go to a movie. Let's go out to dinner. You know, there's plenty of that in this calendar, believe me. Okay, so I like balance. I'm a Libra, so I like balance. You know, I'll make some little check marks and stuff like that. I'll write big, I'll write small. It doesn't matter. Like, what's fun about it is like you can even highlight stuff if you feel like, hey, I got new highlighters this month. I'm gonna practice on my highlighting my calendar. That's really cool. So then it becomes a habit of managing time. You can't just always take a course on time management and not work the muscle of managing your time. And if you can't envision a whole year how you might use that time, well, then you're not going to be able to really envision a day and be able to really use that time wisely. That's just what I find. It's like, I'll ask people, where's your calendar? I want to see what you're up to. What are you working on? They can't show it to me. And then they wonder, why am I having trouble when I'm like, yay, I get to have time for myself, but why am I wasting it? Why am I having trouble? Well, it's because your brain doesn't know what to do. Like, your brain hasn't been practiced to work in that kind of segmentation. And so by the time you have free time, it goes, well, I'm used to free time relax, so let's not work. Okay, and then you go, no, you know, and I feel guilty because I had all this time and I didn't do anything with it. It takes you practicing and getting in the habit. So let me know if this is resonating with you. Hit some hearts, likes, whatever, just so I know I'm not just like whoosh, going over your head with all of this stuff. And then remember, it's not about being perfect on here. And if you run out of room or something, look, I have certain stickies that I stick in here. I like it because it also is like a folder. So if I have stuff that, you know, receipts, things I have to file, it's all in here until I take care of it. And then I'm not like shoving it somewhere else where I can't find it. So you might even see me like if I just met somebody, the business card is in here until I can put it somewhere else. And that's pretty good. Okay. I like this too because it has a notes section. So if you're kind of mapping things out, oh look, I was talking to somebody about my dream success strategy, so that's in there, so I can show it to them easily right there. So what happens is if you're plugging this kind of method into that sequence, what you're saying is for 2020, I have my direction. My direction could be accomplishing this one thing that I've always dreamed of accomplishing. If you don't accomplish it and you got a lot of it done, I think that's still awesome, right? If you're like, you know what, I actually got further with it this year. I didn't really accomplish it, but because I carved out time, it made more sense to me. Now I can kind of see the scope of what I really need to be working on. That was a good dent. And I'm kind of like saying this a lot lately. I'm saying, make a dent in the universe, okay? So what we're trying to do in 2020, we're trying to make a dent in how that's gonna be. I don't wanna just like react to every week that's out there. I don't want to go through my day kind of like putting out fires, reacting, and never really getting to the point where I'm in control of what I want to do. Okay, so if you want to be in control of what you want to do, claim it. Claim your time. The one thing that you can claim and that it's free is your time, and it was actually costs a lot technically, right? So if people want your time, they got to claim it too. So you're going to say, look, I'm going to schedule my time first, and then I'll see how I can fit you around there, because if I'm doing this, then I can help you out much better. Because if I'm draining myself, all I do is get frustrated because so-and-so is wasting my time, or I'm really supposed to catch up with so-and-so and I never get to do it. Have a calendar, map it out, plan it out. And if you want to run things by me, feel free. I'm like always excited, right? So if someone says, hey, Marilyn, I watched your thing on how to map out my year. I did it, and here's what it looks like. Boom, 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 boom. And then maybe someone can hold you accountable for that. And then maybe I can say, well, there's a really cool way to prep for that upcoming week, and I can show you a few steps here and there. So it's always good to have an accountability partner for certain things that you want to do, and put things that are exciting. Okay, like the pay the bills here. That, like, you know what I've seen people's calendar, and it says pay this bill this day, pay this bill that day. That's fine, but it's like, who would want to look at that calendar? I'm sure you're probably like, oh, I don't like my calendar. You know, I only look at it to like just check on that kind of stuff. That's fine. What you should do is have your bills calendar, like have a separate calendar just for bills. Put it where you probably do your, you know, filing and your bills and things like that. Put it on that table. Doesn't need to be here. Okay, why not? Well, you should be setting aside time to actually do the bills, and that's when you check that calendar. Doesn't need to exist in my brain all the time, because it's like, you know, there's so much like connotation to some of that, or it's just too much. It's going to clutter up the good kind of momentum I'm trying to build up. So should you have multiple calendars? Yeah, why not? You should have a calendar just for the bills. The kids, they have their own calendar, and if it really is going to start layering into mine, then I'll like put it in here. But I can go check that calendar. This is me, remember? And it's okay, like, oops, you're not being selfish if you plan your time. Why do some women feel like this? Okay, so this is Female Income Academy. We're going to be talking about this. This is all pretty much new, and I'm just really trying to get you guys in this new thinking mode that we women can take control of our options and our lives and our safety, because I see Becky Musburger is here and she teaches women about safety. Take the time and map those things out. Like, I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to put it in my calendar that I'm going to dedicate certain weeks to doing that, whether I do this locally or if I like book myself on a vacation or book myself, like I like to go on conferences. I like to go learn and hear from other speakers, other coaches, and so I map that out in here as well. So make sure that you're looking at that. And then of course there's the before I go, the week before, and the week after, like what am I doing with that time? And so that's really what you want to concentrate on. Oh, look, or listen. Isn't that a pretty ringtone? I just got a new phone. And a new phone, but I'm not going to use the calendar on it. Okay? Sorry, because I use this calendar. And for me, it's just, it's much better. Now, do you have a joint calendar with agencies or something? Yeah, you should learn how to use an online calendar. So let's say I have appointments open and I want to use a Calendly type of app. You can certainly do that. That's to fill in the gaps. And so another thing is I have a photography agency, so I'm also a professional photographer. So what I do a lot is commercial and food photography, corporate photography. So what my agency does is that sees the openings in the calendar, and if I turn on and off that calendar and put the openings in, they know to book me at those slots. So if I'm thinking, I think next week I want to do some photography assignments. What's really nice is I look at my calendar, see which day that fits the best, open that up in that online calendar, they book it, I see the email, I get the notification, then I take that information and plug it in here. So that way, too, the contact info for that person, I'm remembering it much better because I took it from seeing it to writing it down, and so it makes me remember things much better. When you write things down, you remember it much better. Okay, so if you're watching webinars, taking notes, classes like that, don't just use your laptop. Take notes, handwritten notes. You're going to find that your brain grows, okay? So when it comes to that, there is a partnership with an electronic calendar that I'm using, but it's not my full life. It's just a tool that I'm going to use to make sure that someone else who needs to connect in a more convenient way, instead of calling me, texting me, and us kind of looking, going, that's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for you. That's not gonna, that kind of stuff you could put online and make that more automated on their end so that they can just schedule what they need to based on what you put out there. Okay, but based on what you put out there. So you don't have to open your whole life. You're going to open a segment that you're welcome to a new thing. Then once that's in there, you put it in your calendar. You write it down. You make sure it exists. And then that way, when you're looking back years and years and years later, you can go, wow, that really was something, right? Like, that was really cool, all that stuff that happened. Oh, yeah, I met with so-and-so this many times. This is how many assignments I had in that field. So that's really kind of like the value to it. So what do you think? Are you going to do it? Tell me in the comments if this is like, yay, I'm excited to do this, plan out my year, or you just made me more confused, and that's okay, and I'll help you out if you are. Feel free to ask questions too if you're watching the replay. I want you to go ahead and hit replay so that I know who was on here live, who who has questions and everything like that. And let me see. So hello to all of you who joined. Barbara, Wanda, Gregor, Kim, Erica, Becky, and Ariel. So thank you for tuning in. I don't want to go on and on too much more, but you got this, okay? You can do it. The main thing is, and if you ever read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is, if you ask a lot of multi-millionaires out there, they're going to say one of the books that changed their lives was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But here's the thing, you could read that over and over and over and over again and never implement it, and nothing's going to change in your life. The needle will not move in your life. What you need to do, and if you look at that book, the biggest section in that book, so if I'm flipping all the chapters, let's say this is that book, I'm like, oh, this is how many chapters in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. The organized planning section is like this thick, compared to other chapters that's maybe like this thick. Think about that. Why would he spend so much time on organized planning and dedicate that many pages to organized planning? And why do people cite that book as the way to become a millionaire? Well, it's because of organized planning. Organized planning. So what are we doing today? We are creating our schedule for 2020. We're organizing our plan for success, and really that's it. You don't need to work more to make more money. You don't need to work harder to make more money. The easiest jobs sometimes are the ones that pay the most. It's actually easier to be wealthy. It's harder to be poor. And if you are time poor, it results in being poor in your bank account. If you're time rich and you're time mindful, then your bank account will reflect that as well. So that's really the biggest equation I can teach you today. And for the rest of the year and for the rest of next year, time organized equals wealth and success. So let's do it. Let's organize. Let's get to it. As you can see, this is for you. You didn't have to pay anything to get this information. I want you to do it. Jump in. Now, there is the official side, and if you can join for only a month, you can join for a year, it doesn't matter to me. What you're finding in there is a library of more instruction like this and access to getting to some of the things that I do, other things that I do live, so that I can teach you live and you can ask those questions live too. Just like this, but I can see your face because we do it on a Zoom call. So if you have questions about that, let me know. I'll throw the link for the official database membership site so that you can find more resources in there. There's worksheets that I'm going to be throwing in there, all this amazing content for only like $39.99 a month, right? So that's awesome. You don't even know how much I've paid for stuff. Let me just tell you, because I know it's an investment. I'm willing to do it. So to me, hey, I wanted to make sure that it was accessible to as many people as possible. So this is for you. I'm going to keep coming on live and giving you different tips, but what I want you to do is just dive in there. There's going to be pathways for you, and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to charge for certain things, how you can schedule it, who to work with, how to collaborate, what you need to do for marketing, etc., so that you know the pathway to say, I have an idea, I want to turn it into money. Good. Marilyn will show you how to take that idea, put these steps in here, and turn it into money. Just like that. Just like that. Okay? No deviations. It's this to this. Let's do it. Okay, so if you're with me, say yay. Cool, cool. All right. Well, I love you all, and that's my time. And you know me, I like to be prompt. So if you have any questions, tap it in here. Ask me directly. Do whatever you want that it's comfortable for you. But love you guys. Y'all are amazing women. You can do this. You got this. So adios. I'll see you later. Bye, everybody.